Hey everyone, welcome to the Entrepreneurs Warrior Show. This is where we interview entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants who are expert in their niche. And in this amazing series today, we have a super awesome guest. Like what? He is the founder of and host of the award-winning podcast Entrepreneurs on Fire. He recorded over 3,700 interviews, episode with top 1% entrepreneurs, and have over 145 million listeners, and he has turned entrepreneurs on fire into a media empire that generates over a million listeners every month and seven figures of net annual revenue. So without a further ado, let's have JLD on the stage. Hi brother, how are you?
Excited to be here, Nilesh. Thank you for having me. Super pumped up by the name of the podcast, by the guests that you've had on in the past. Looks like you're talking to some really cool people.
Thank you so much, and I'm really pumped up and super ignite because of the level of stuff that you did. So first of all, congratulations for 3,700 interviews, man. It's really huge, big number. Awesome. So you did interview. Are we good to go? Are you hearing me loud and clear?
Loud and clear.
Yes, awesome. Thank you. So you conduct interview with 3,700 plus entrepreneurs. So and all are on top in their industry, in their journey. So what was the valuable lesson or standout insight you have learned from this highly successful individual?
It comes down to this. If you're a successful entrepreneur, you have created the number one solution to a real problem in this world. It doesn't mean that you've created the number one solution to a big problem or the biggest problem in the world, but to a real problem, whether it be a small problem or a big problem or somewhere in the middle, but it's a real problem that's a pain point, an obstacle, a challenge for another human being. And that other human being will find you because they want the number one solution to their problem. And that is what successful entrepreneurs do across the board. They find a way to create the number one solution to a real problem.
Wow. And that's the main point. Like the real entrepreneurs are the people who actually solving a bigger problem of market, not just a normal simple problem. That's really what the point here is.
The key word is it's a real problem. It can be a
Yeah.
small problem,
Mm,
but if it's a
yes.
small problem, it's gonna be a real problem, something that people need fixes to. I have a lot of small problems every single day that I
Yeah.
pay people that have solutions to that small problem, and they're winning as a result.
Wow. So true. So true. And nowadays, podcasting platform like Spotify is also focusing on video podcasts, and we are able to publish videos on this podcast platform. So, which one is more effective on the podcast platform, like a video podcast or audio podcast? Because I see you publish your audio podcast on your YouTube channel, and but nowadays the Spotify and the audio platform is also coming up with the video podcast. So what is the most effective, video or audio?
It is a question that will be here for eternity. The reality is, I think there's a lot of pros and cons to both. There's definitely a pro to video podcasts because it allows you to repurpose your content onto YouTube, onto Instagram, onto LinkedIn, into the new platforms like a Spotify that's going to be having video as an opportunity. And that's going to be a great way to repurpose it because nobody wants to just watch, a still static image and a podcast. What they want to do is at least see some activity. Now, is it a huge value win to see two talking heads like us? Like, are we really adding value of people looking at our faces as we talk instead of just hearing our voices as we talk? I would
Yeah.
say no. Some people would say, well, it's better. So, at the end of the day, I say, hey, if you want to create a video podcast, you definitely should because it creates more flexibility, more opportunities for you to repurpose and purpose and publish that content on different platforms. If you're like me and you want to go for quantity and quality, the incredibly higher level of work it takes to
Right.
produce a good video show. The editing is more difficult, the recording is more difficult, everything's more difficult about it. And that's okay. And if I was doing a once a week show, I would probably do a video show. But the fact that I'm doing a 7-day a week show, I know that I can be consistent by doing an audio only show because it's so much easier to do on a daily basis. So again, pros and cons to everything. Audio only shows easier, and I would say
Hmm.
higher quality for the most part when it comes to audio. Video shows can be more interesting to look at if you like looking at two talking heads, which I don't find very interesting personally, but could be. And number
Yeah.
two, you know, allows you to repurpose on different platforms, especially shorter clips like an Instagram, Facebook, etc. So pros and cons, brother.
Yeah, so true. And each and every platform has their own pros and cons, as you already clear it. That's really amazing thing. And if we see the world is shifting crazily towards the artificial intelligence, and it's a rapidly growing field and industry we can see. So how does in your opinion, like how do you foresee that AI is impacting the podcasting industry? Will it have any significant impact, and if there is possibility, what? Because we see the Joy Rogan or something, the artificial podcast, and so what is your thought on it?
Artificial intelligence is going to change everything. Exactly how is it going to change things? Only time will tell. But now you can replicate voices, you can replicate faces, you can replicate conversations. You can do so many things with AI, and it's only getting so much better every single day. So the world is changing. You need to be willing to adapt to the change. You need to be looking for and identifying the opportunities that are coming because of this change. There's going to be a lot of people that are refusing to change, and then they're going to get squashed because the world will change with or without them. So for somebody like me, I love keeping my finger on the pulse, seeing what's working, seeing what's not working, looking for opportunities within this new world that's going to include artificial intelligence. And then when the time is right, going all in, trying that thing, seeing if it works. If it does, great, keep going. If it doesn't, pull back, keep my eyes open for maybe that next opportunity that I want to try. So everything is going to change.
Yes. So, and we have to adapt according to the time and with the time. That's true. And recently, I'm listening to your interview with Pat Flan. He's your first ever guest as well on your show in September 2012. I remember. So
Check
during one
this
of
out.
your
This is the audio waves of that first interview with Pat
oh
Flynn right
wow,
there.
that's really crazy.
Yeah.
Really crazy. You are coming with a long way. And during the interview with the pet flan, you mentioned that you enjoy sharing interviews where you are host, where you are a guest with your audience if the questions are fresh and unique. So, as a host, how can you ensure that your questions are not repetitive? How you already did 3700 plus interviews, so how do you manage that this question is not repetitive or
You
a
just don't
very
ask
fresh?
basic questions. You don't ask, why did you start? How do you grow a podcast? How do you monetize? What's new in your world? Like, you ask specific questions based off of your specific podcast and your specific audience. So as a podcast host, I would say, what is it that I want to stand for my podcast? What do I want to become the number one solution to with my content in my podcast? And how do I go all in on that? And then when I bring people like Pat Flynn or JLD onto my own podcast, I stick to my guns, and that's what I'm talking about. So maybe, you want to talk about, different forms of ayahuasca and like how that can help or hurt you in different situations. Like, you become the podcast that brings people on talking about ayahuasca, its journey, its benefits, its pros, its cons, the scary times, the good times. And that's just a random example I brought out of my head. But a podcast has to stand for something special, stand for something unique, and preferably be the number one provider of content on a specific problem in this world. And then when you bring guests on your show, you stick to your guns, and that's the topic, that's the focus.
Wow, that's mic drop. That's literally a mic drop stuff you just shared with us. So you managed to invite all the successful entrepreneurs from the start of your journey or from the start of your show. And during the early stages of your journey, how were you able to secure the interview with this accomplished individual? Like at this
It's
point of
all about
time,
timing because listen,
yeah.
everybody is doing something at some point.
Mhm.
They're writing a book, they're launching a course, they have a product or a service or a cause that they want to
Yeah.
talk about. So you wait, and then when you see them in promotion mode, then you approach them and you say, "Hey Tim," and I was speaking about Tim Ferriss right now. So, "Hey Tim Ferriss, I see that
Yeah.
you're launching a book. It's a perfect topic for my audience. I know you're looking to promote that book. I would love to have you come on my show. I have specific questions for you. Some of them are going to pertain to your book. And then, of course, I would love to give a call to action at the end of the show to my audience to buy your book. Would you spare me 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 10 minutes of your time to do just that?"
Wow. That's to the point, directly on the spot, without any kind of rounding the stuff. That's really amazing. So you are seeing this industry from last 10 years, like over a decade. So what innovations and advancement can we expect to see in the podcasting industry in the next few years, and how they will shape in the medium as whole?
I think artificial intelligence is going to have an impact. Exactly what, I don't know, but I'm definitely curious, interested, and keeping my finger on that pulse. I think you're going to see podcasting continue to go much more niche, much more
Yeah.
specific. Like it's going to just be a person who says, "I am only talking about solving this real problem. So if you don't have this problem, this podcast is not for you." That's where I see this world going.
Wow, that's really again another mic drop. And you share that you are only giving 4.5 hours for your show in a week. So what do you do in the rest of the week? Like what you do on the other days?
I spend a lot of time working on my health and my wellness. I definitely exercise, try to eat the best nutrition that I can. I do a lot of traveling. I've already spent 3 weeks in Japan this year, another 1 month in Europe doing a 23-day river cruise, a lot of other travel. I have a lot of fun just kind of hanging out in my community here in Puerto Rico with friends, by myself, reading books, staying kind of just like relaxed and enjoying the day to day and not just trying to pile more things on my plate. And, there's always something to do. There's always something to do, and that's what I do, something.
Wow. Again, like when I hear this point, like I'm only giving 4.5 hours for my show, like I'm blown away. Like, how does it happen? He have a content every single day, but that's really amazing stuff, man.
And it
You
didn't
build
start off
a
that way, to be very clear. Like,
yes,
I was
yes.
putting in 60,
Mm,
70, 80-hour work weeks to
yes.
build my business over the years. But then
Right.
I got to a point where I was happy with the revenue coming in. My team was very well trained. And that's where I'm at now, 10 and a half years into the launch of my business. So this isn't something that can come or came for me overnight. It came over time.
Yes. So true. And you have this
Just
book.
notes, I know our time is up, so I just wanted
Yes.
to say that I'm very thankful for you having me on the show. If anybody wants to listen to Entrepreneurs on Fire, I'd love that. It's my podcast. eofire.com is my website, where it has a lot of great content for entrepreneurs, all free. And Nilesh, it was great chatting today.
Thank you so much. And if you want to talk just about your book, The Common Path to Uncommon Success, it's
It's a book that I wrote a couple years ago that's based on the 3,000 episodes that I had recorded to that date. It's a 17-step roadmap to financial freedom and fulfillment. So if that's interesting to you, the common path to uncommon success.
I'll drop all the link in the description. Thank you so much, John, for joining us. It's really glad to have you here.
Adios.